Almost. I forgot my microphone never turns off. We're in! Guys, if you're tuning in, welcome. Not only have the Eagles won, but I've somehow assembled the entire PSN Avengers team for a post-game stream, which has never happened. So up top, you've got LJ. Down below, you've got Thomas, who's back from his European tour of moving apartment, who starts a new job tomorrow, so we'll hear all about that. Then we've got Brian and Chris, hosts of the Flipping the Birds podcast. They're here as well. Guys, how are we feeling?
Who's answering first? Rock, paper, scissors?
I guess. Ready? Rock, paper, scissors.
But I mean, what?
Since no one's talking yet, I will take.
Go, Chris. He's got a lot on display. Just gonna talk back college for 10 minutes. Go.
I'm feeling.
Let it all out, big guy.
Okay. I am feeling like to start our pod. We already recorded Flipping the Birds podcast. So to start our podcast, we were kind of like, Brian asked, were you more worried about the offense or defense or more impressed by it? It's kind of like both, impressed and worried about the offense and defense at the same time, because the offense played great in the first half, and then in the second half it was kind of like, what the hell are we doing? But and then the defense played great in the first half, and then in the second half it was kind of like, what the hell are we doing? So, you score 19 points in the first half against a top-ranked defense, and then you score 3. And that's not going to get it done against the Patriots and Seahawks, but a win is a win.
Sure.
It's 5-4 now, going into the bye. Bye couldn't have come at a better time for the Eagles, and, you're going to get DeSean Jackson more time to get healthy, which was a stupid to bring him back today. It was so stupid to bring him back today.
I don't get it, yeah. I mean, the fact he caught one pass was a bit bedazzling. Then you're like, right, no, get him out, he's done. Right, that was cool. And it was like, it was kind of a bit needless. Like, if you're going to expose him. You don't kind of put him out there and then yeet him back in like one play later. But I mean, I want to direct this straight to Thomas, and we'll kind of loop back around to Brian, because something Chris said twigged my ears about there was a clear parity between, I think, offense first half, offense second half. To me, it was just they abandoned the run in the instance you really need to commit to the run. Right? Surely, if you're sitting on a lead against the Bears who are doing nothing, you're trying to drain the clock, run the ball down, just get rid of it. Howard's running wild, averaging like 4 yards a carry. There's no need to start trying to put the ball in the hands of your pass catchers that often, or giving it 3 times.
5.5 before the end of the quarter.
Or giving it to Darren Sproles 3 times. What was that about? I mean, Thomas, what did you make of that whole... Did you see the same thing, or was it...
Yeah, I saw the same thing. It was one drive where we saw Sproles. We basically haven't really seen him at all prior to that drive, and then he gets 3 straight targets, and only one of them went for like 4 yards, and the entire drive stalls. And I don't know what to make of it, because like Chris said, you had Howard who was averaging 5.6 yards per carry at that time when Sproles came in, and Sanders, who hit just about every hole in the right way he could have today. He played tremendously, except for that one of the last carries he had with those big hole he missed in the middle. But I mean, it's fine. It was one play out of a lot that he was running the ball hard. So I just don't know. I don't know why we have to see Sproles in there, and. No. So I was going back and forth in my mind between being a little bit angry at Carson and then defending myself with being angry at Doug, because I think Doug was setting up Carson to fail at the end of the game, and I think a lot of heat is going to go on Carson. And it's not. I don't think it's not the right place to put the blame, because when you have a run game that is working so well, the offensive line was manhandling the defensive line of the Bears like they had nothing on us today, and you go out and you get cute with play action passes and all this stuff. Like, just run the damn ball. That frustrated the hell out of me.
Okay, so next up in this little Alcoholics Anonymous corner that is basically known as our post-game live stream, Brian, you're the only one that hasn't had a mention yet. What's annoyed you in today? We've started a stream by going, the Eagles have won. What are we all mad about? Brian, what's on your mind?
And you can't say I'm annoying.
Okay. No, yeah. I mean, we haven't had your take on Matt Collins yet, though, so we'll get there.
Oh, man. I was going to use that one. No, nothing truly annoyed me about this game. The only thing that really, I guess you could say, kind of triggered me was the second half. Chris mentioned on our Flipping the Birds podcast, where I think the team only scored 3 points in the second half, if I'm not mistaken, or something like that. And it was like the offense just completely got lost. And I feel like Doug Peterson kind of went away from what was working with what Thomas has said with Sanders and Howard. That's your bread and butter. The receivers are not getting it done. Alshon, to me, hasn't been the same for the past couple of weeks. Just too many drops.
Could you make the argument, though, really quickly on that obviously in 2017, played through the massive shoulder injury, gets surgery. Even spots in 2018, it seemed to be like kind of flashes amongst the same sort of thing. I mean, now you don't have those incredible like grabs in the air and the contested catches. Like once they've been removed, it's the same guy for over a year, right? Or am I the only? Is that too far to say?
I don't think he's the number one wideout. That's me, my hot take. Like if you think about it, in Chicago, it was him and Brandon Marshall. He has somebody dynamic next to him. Right now, he doesn't have anybody dynamic next to him. Ever since Torrey Smith, who wasn't great with us, but he was there when we needed him. DeSean hasn't been fully healthy, and that's pretty much it.
What are you thinking, Chris? I can't tell if you're rolled up or you're furiously thinking through stats.
Say something right now.
I don't think he's healthy. When he was fully healthy, he played through the whole entire Super Bowl run with a torn labrum in his shoulder, but that had nothing to do with his legs. Like, he had a calf injury coming into this year, and I don't think he's healthy from that. You saw the one pass, and as much as I want to say it's on Alshon, it's kind of on Carson too. That one pass where Alshon finally beat a defender, and then Carson threw it out of bounds. Could have Jeffrey made a play on the ball? Yes, he could have tried to, but he didn't. I don't think he has his legs under him for those 50-50 balls anymore. It's a shame. Like, I think his calf injury is going to come out after the season. It's not going to come out now. I don't think Jeffrey's legs are healthy right now.
You're not using your calf to catch the ball, though.
Yeah, but when you're making those cuts and you're I know you're not using your arms, obviously, but he's not jumping for anything really anymore. He's just letting things come to him, and today it sucked that when those things came to him, he dropped them, but he's not making the 50-50 ball plays anymore, and it's really come down to it's gone from 50-50 for Alshon Jeffrey to 60-40 towards the defender after last week. We saw last week it was kind of going towards 60-40. Now I think it's more of a 70-30 towards the defender. And Alshon's really not making any effort.
I don't know. I mean, let's say if I'm talking, because I know Thomas is, conveniently starting a job in surgery tomorrow. He's probably the most medically minded of all of us. Could this be a thing like...
Tomorrow.
And for lack of a better pun, does this have any legs?
Oh wow, you've been working on that.
He was holding on that one.
Yeah, he's a bit holding. He wrote it down. It's on a little.
I've got a little list. Yeah, there's
Private all this.
Don't be surprised if the Matt Thomas one comes in.
I didn't really think that the whole calf injury was the big deal in this game until he obviously went to the sideline after he finally caught the pass. He was open on his drops. He just didn't catch the ball. And on the long throw that Carson missed widely, he was wide open as well, streaking down the field. I do not think the injury was the bigger issue with Alshon up until the point where he left the game. I think he looked fine. He had separation when he needed to. He just dropped the ball. That's pretty much what it comes down to for me with Alshon today.
So before we move on to a different topic, then we haven't addressed the 47 people in the chat. So I'm going to quickly fly through, see who we've got in, see what you guys are saying. If you are listening, if it's your first time, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Leave a like if you enjoy it. More importantly, though, get involved in this discussion. There's a big chat box there. We want all of you in. So we've got David Throne, we've got Geordie Fighter, Tom Whitehouse was straight in, and the first comment he said was Alshon was awful. So hopefully you've just addressed that point. He also later on said that he dropped 3 third down passes, which frankly for any receiver just isn't good enough, regardless of what the reason is.
He caught the last one. He caught the last one. That was the most important.
We do have a quote from him from Postgame.
Alshon?
Alshon Jeffrey on his drops, and this is via Jamie Apodi.
So not Josina Anderson?
No, not anonymous source. Not anonymous source too, but just
Okay.
This is on record.
He was asked about his drops, and he said, "We're all human, not going to make every play."
Fair. I mean,
Nelson Aguilar said that he would have been slaughtered at that point.
Yeah, and that comes down. I mean, if Matt Collins had said that, you know, it is a perception thing, I think, and it's.
But you have to be targeted in order to say something like that, though.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it would make sense if he didn't catch 4 passes for 36 yards and he caught 4 passes for 60 yards, it'd be a bit different. I don't know, it's interesting. I'm sure we'll get to that over the course of the next few days anyway. Butch Jones says 77 looks like a find. Jason Peters is teaching him well. Let's not forget...
Dilly Dillard season.
Dilly Dillard. Andre Dillard came out today against a ferocious Bears defensive line. I mean, there was one play that I think he gave up like a sack, but it wasn't really his fault because the hit came from somewhere else. Like, overall, I mean, did you get much time to look at the line, Thomas, or was it just kind of looking everywhere and you'll get closer in the tape over the next week or so?
I was looking kind of everywhere, but I mean, nobody could watch this game without looking at the offensive lines really standing out. And not just the offensive line, but the running backs as well in pass protection. I mean, it's becoming a theme every week. They're just doing their job really well. I think the only sack that I think I saw was actually on Andre Dillard. I think it was
like a double one.
Was it the late first half, or I'm not quite sure.
Dillard gave up a sack at the towards of the game. He gave up that I think he was credited on. That was the only one. Everything else he was really dominant.
Yeah, and obviously we got to go look at the film. But when I saw the play, I didn't go "God damn it, Dillard." I went "God damn it, Wentz," because I think it was a play that he could have. I think he should have been more aware of the pocket at the time because he was standing there for 3 seconds, not moving us the slightest bit, and then he got sacked. But it's something we'll get into. Obviously, the entire line did a phenomenal job. You have 2 running backs going for 120 yards rushing, and it could have been a lot more had they actually stuck with the run. Then you have a good day with the offensive line against the Bears defense.
Absolutely. Now, before we're going to kind of segue into a couple of different points in a minute, but I have to read out this quote. So, Spirit of Liberty says, Alshon can't catch a cold. And normally when you're talking receivers, you leave it at you can't catch a cold. That's sort of the common theme, you know, it's a nice light hide. He then says, couldn't catch a cold if you sneezed in his mouth, which is a very bit more of an extreme. So, you know, I mean, we're going really extreme here. I can feel the frustration. But before we get too frustrated and I guess angry about receivers and problems and that sort of thing, I don't want to compliment Jim Schwartz. I think that might be a bit extreme. But there was improvement. Like, there was schematic. Like, I tweeted about halfway through the first quarter, I was like, Malcolm Jenkins, like, isn't in the box. Like, why? Why is Rodney McLeod down here? Why is he over there? And it's... Oh, right, I just noticed what Chris is doing down there.
What are you doing?
I've just realised, just got that. But, I mean, like, so defensively, what stood out to you the most? Because I think there's that one signature play of Jalen Mills where everyone thought that oh my god, it's happened again. And somehow comes up ripping the ball out like the newborn Simba above the mountain. And I was like, oh my god, it's happened. Like, he's okay. He's survived. So, like, I mean, where do you... I mean, for me, the biggest standout was Jannard Avery, who, if you watch the film room, I'm hoping you guys have if you're around the channel, I said that he's going to have like a hybrid role, could be that stand-up DE, like move back as a linebacker. I boldly predicted in the article today that he'd get his first sack. That happened. That's the first time I actually hit a bold prediction properly this year, I think, so that was good. But let's go to Brian.
I said he would get 1 sack, so I was half right.
So it's okay, we can team up. We'll double up. It's fine. Brian, biggest defensive takeaway?
The maturity of Jalen Mills back-to-back games. Me and Chris were going over it before on the podcast. And Jalen Mills, as you can see, like when he completely just haymakered the ball out of Allen Robinson's hands to last week even, he's looked like a more calmer Jalen Mills, more of a, he knows what's going on around him opposed to how he did look prior to the injury. And then Avery, obviously, he came off the line flying for that sack.
Oh, I was so excited. That was my favourite moment of the game. Like, I absolutely love that. That and the fact that Anthony Rush exists and did things, and Alex Singleton exists and did things on special teams, and TJ Edwards exists and did things. What a day for the PSN underdog brand.
Our brand is thriving.
Thomas, what was your biggest takeaway from defense?
Nate Gary still sucks at playing
For
linebacker.
crying out loud, you were so positive. You're doing so well.
You're running too high. I need to drag it down a little bit.
All right, so I mean, but there were flashes though. He wasn't bad.
Two winners on defense.
TJ Edwards
would be TJ Edwards.
Yeah.
Could be because he is continuing to play really good football in a kind of hard defensive scheme for linebackers, because Jim Schwartz is just making his linebackers play. He's making them read a lot, so you're not just playing gap football where even though they like if the offensive line is pulling, then you still have to go to the same gap. He's making them read it. So that's where Nate Gary falls, because he can't read an offensive line to save his life. But Josh Sweat as well. I was actually a little bit concerned with if Jannard Avery was going to get any reps, because Sweat was playing as well as he did. Avery did get some snaps, and he made the most of them. He was playing really well as well. So at some point, I think we have to see a lot less of Minnie Curry and a lot more of Jannard Avery and Josh Sweat, because I think those guys are going to be some projects you can grow into something in the next few years, where you're going to need replacements at defensive end.
I think they will though, and I said in the film room, like I'm not sure if you guys saw it, just pretend and say yeah, because otherwise you're fired. I think Avery's going to have this like have this sort of like hybrid role, and it may in a way fix it, because I always felt the last few weeks there's been this disconnect between the defensive line, the linebackers, and the corners. Because like you said, the linebackers are breathing too much. You've then got the defensive line all pushing one way. There's nothing kind of connecting. If you're playing like a cover 3 or like a cover 1, and those corners are flying backwards, there's nothing really in like the curls and flats or the strong hook area, which is where when Avery was asked to drop back as an outside linebacker, he really thrived in Cleveland. So I thought maybe, just maybe, having a player that is that versatile, that while he's not, as, kind of fluid in his hips as like a corner, he's at least got the eyes and the awareness to pick up and read what's going on around him, unlike someone like Nate Gary. Then we could see Jim Schwartz go, all right, let's just move things around a little bit. Let's put him here. Let's bring this guy down. And I think we started to see, even if it was only for a couple of plays, we started to see, like, Rasul Douglas was 1 in the game and 2 pressing at the line of scrimmage. That happened. Like, I think we're starting to see a slight knock on where maybe, just maybe, someone has just either hit Schwartz over the head with a frying pan and he's woken up and gone, wow, I need to change. Or he's just maybe had a cup of coffee and decided he's going to change. But either way, it's easy. Oh my God, Renee, I've just noticed Renee's donated $10. Thank you so much. That's incredibly kind of you. I think you said slightly earlier on that you love PSN as well. So we all love you too, Renee. That's incredibly sweet. Thank you so much.
Shout out to Renee. Renee, super fan.
We've got Tom says he's done it another street. What have we got here? Oh, okay. So there's a debate about Carson Wentz and Peyton Manning, which we will not partake in for the sake of our own sanity.
Question: did you see the comment of saying that we should have taken Goff over Wentz?
No, don't even. Don't even entertain Rotten Thomas. We're not. No, that's it. Nope.
Moving on, Isaac says, do you all think DeSean Jackson will be back for the Pats game? I think absolutely. I think that's it has to be right at this stage. Like, if he comes back for 1 snap, somehow hurts himself again, and then is out for the Pats game, that would not look good on an Eagles media scarf that is already scolded by just about everyone ever. Is there another area of this game? I know we've spoken about briefly the offensive problems in the second half and the defensive problems in the first half, or the success really, but that fourth quarter by the defense, I know they gave up points, and I know that the Bears crept back in, but I would obviously put that really down to the fact the offense were just shooting prematurely, couldn't stay on the field. The defense did their job as long as they... for the entire first half, the Bears had, 1 offensive yard in total? It was -1, and then they had a 2-yard rush, so, they almost had it in negative. But, I can't tell if it's the Bears' offense being horrifically bad, or the Eagles' defense suddenly just picking up steam and finding themselves a bit, or is it a combination of the two?
I think the fact that the Bears finally got an offensive play that really sparked their offense, that kind of got them going a little bit, and then combined with the fact the Eagles' offense stalled a lot and they went away from what worked, that's what gave them the momentum to get the couple scores they did. But I agree with you. I think the defense held up pretty nicely. I wouldn't put anything on the defense. They pretty much just gave up. They gave up 1 big play, and for the majority of all the third downs that they were facing, they held up and forced them to punt the ball, which is something we have not been used to seeing. We usually see a guy running wide open, and then a 3rd and 14 is converting to a first down. I mean, up until this game, I mean, every time my girlfriend and I have been watching the games, and we're Eagles getting in a 3rd and 10. The opponent getting a 3rd and 10 or longer, then she's going like, "Oh, they're converting this," and when my girlfriend can see it, that's bad. So that's.
I mean, my girlfriend says the same. I don't even have a girlfriend, so when she sees it, that's when you know it's bad. But really quickly before we leap onto that point, I do want to say, because I know Renee has donated twice now, I think. Like, she did a pre-season one as well. So if you're still in the stream, Renee, hit us up, phillysportsnetwork@gmail.com. We'll get you a t-shirt, because I think you've become one of our top fans. You're in every stream, every video. Give us an email, phillysportsnetwork@gmail.com. We'll sort you out with a t-shirt, because we're going to get all emotional otherwise.
Flipping the birds.
Right, don't push it. Right, that's it. Hang on. We could wait until the ugly Christmas sweaters come out, because I think we're all going to end up with ugly Christmas sweaters. That's the dream. But all right, let's talk bye-week thoughts then. Thomas isn't happy, so Thomas is getting 2 in bright pink. Let's talk bye. So we go into the bye week 5-4. I know Chris said earlier that this couldn't come at a better time for the Eagles. I 100% agree with that, and I think largely that's probably why they stood pat at the deadline, because you'd like to think when they come back from this that Jernigan will be fully recovered. They're going to have DeSean Jackson fully recovered. Avonte Maddox and obviously your whole secondary is now fully recovered. All of those cluster injuries are suddenly gone, and you're back to what you started the season with. And if there was an intent to really upgrade that should have happened months ago. You shouldn't be toying with that, I think, at this point, if it's that bad. So, I think I can see why they stood pat. But how are you feeling now going into the bye as opposed to you were a week ago, Brian? I feel like a teacher just picking people out, when they're not looking. You're Brian is, oh yeah, sorry.
That's what I'm thinking. But every time you saw him, I'm thinking about something. I get distracted when Chris makes all these faces. I think my only
man, leave my face alone. Leave my character.
We gotta talk about your expressions. I'm concerned over the DeSean Jackson injury, and Thomas, you be chime in at this.
I'm not concerned about the DeSean Jackson injury, not at all.
Well, here's my concern. I don't know if he'll be ever fully recovered from it at this point.
Ooh.
It's all gonna be a matter of pain for him, and I think that all they did today was just they wanted to try it out in a game situation. Now they've had 3 weeks where it's been reported that he's been doing some running while the team has been practicing. So now they finally wanted to get it into a game situation before the bye, so they could have him go with a 14-day rest before they actually go into the second half of the season.
Yeah.
So I think the fact that he was going to come in the game, test it out, see how it felt, and leave the game was all part of the plan for him moving forward, because you're not going to gamble on anything with the way the offense was rolling against the Bears. There's no reason to put him in the game with the way the first half was going and the way the defense was playing against the Bears. So you've been running a long time without DeSean Jackson, so you can't just force him in there on this week 8 matchup. So I think it was the right call to just pull him, and it's been reported by Zach Rosenblatt it was for precautionary reasons. And I think it was the plan all along. I don't think he went in there and activated anything.
No, I think that's my only concern is this.
There was no reason
at this point
to play this game. There was absolutely no reason. You're facing a Chicago's offense that is 27th in the league, and your only issue in this game was the Bears defense. It was kind of like the Bills game all over again. You're facing an offense that was terrible.
But it's not what if it's not the opponent you're playing, but it's the trainer's communication with DeSean saying, all right, how you feeling? He's saying in practice he feels good. You say, all right, you want to go out and try it in the game? He says, hell yeah, let's do it. Let's go one drive, see how it feels, and then get out.
Just really quickly, want to chip in and say good night to Butch Jones. So Butch is leaving. We just wanted to say bye. Thanks for stopping in. Just, quickly saying bye. But yeah, I think that's been something that's been made really poignant, I think, in this era of Eagles medical. Because bearing in mind, the last 3 years, I'm pretty sure they've made moves around the medical staff every year, because there's always been complaints, right? We had Emmanuel Acho come out, we had Jordan Matthews come out, we've had other players come out, and every time something happens, they're oh god, okay, right, let's get rid of them and bring these guys in. And a lot of it, I think,
it's the same thing every year.
Yeah, but you've got to think as well, I can understand it though as a player, because you want to go out on the field, and if you're not going to help yourself, Like, let's say, I mean, everyone uses the Sidney Jones hamstring thing, right? As, he uses that as bait to get off when he's burned or whatever. But if we just, like, for a second assume that he wants to go out and there is some lingering damage to that hamstring that he's not telling people about, or he thinks he can play through this pain threshold and he can't, then it becomes an ego thing. And you've got to say, look, I can't do it and let it go. But when there's that much external pressure to get on the field, you want yourself on there and you just put yourself out. And it's catch-22. So, like, I can see it. But it's all personal. Like, we don't know those conversations, like Thomas says, and I'm sure somebody who works in that industry, you've probably got a better idea as to how. I guess.
No,
okay.
not at all. I mean, but that's my point. We don't know.
Yeah.
So we can use a lot of speculations on how things are going, and you get some guys who shouldn't be commenting on health situations saying, "Oh, if he had the surgery, he'll be back now." Like, come on, you don't know that. But this can play out two ways. Either tomorrow we're going to find out that DeSean aggravated his injury, he's going to have surgery, and he'll miss the rest of the season. Then God. Chris is right 100%, and then we should not do anything with the medical staff, because then it's a wrong decision. Or he can go back after these 14 days, play against the Patriots and look A-okay, and play through whatever pain he might have from his sports hernia, and then probably they had the conversation about it and everything was going according to plan. So let's just play it out before we chop any heads on it. But I mean, Chris is right. History about this, about the medical staff and the luck of the Eagles players with injury suggested this will go horribly wrong.
Yeah, like where I was getting at was we had Jessie Town on a couple weeks ago, and she made the point, like, almost every year in the Peterson era, we've had a new medical staff.
But do you not think, though, that in comparison to the Chip Kelly era, where they focus so much on sports science?
Well, that's why I'm banging the table for
right?
Chip Kelly from UCLA be the head medical person.
I don't want Chip Carroll to be the head of anything. His
smoothies, he can make the smoothies and
make the smoothies. The chocolate chip smoothie, brilliant. Right, that's Chris. Chris has just earned himself $1 million in smoothie sales somewhere.
We had the healthiest team ever with Chip Kelly. But he didn't know how to fucking call a game. Sorry to my language, but he didn't know how to call a game for his life with the Eagles. But we had the healthiest team. Doug Peterson.
Yeah, but that's like saying, hey, I was in a toxic relationship and she tweeted twice, but hey, the boom boom was good. Like, do you know what I mean?
Hey, we'll say my best friend was in one of those relationships.
Oh, God.
And he was getting his ass kicked. Like, he was
in what sense? Right, that's
best friend, hold on, time out.
He was getting abused.
Me and my
other friends, me and his brother and his sister and his other best friends were like in a Facebook group, a secret Facebook group, saying we need to get this guy away from this girl. But like he was like, her tits are big.
Right, that's Chip Kelly. There you go. See,
that was it. And they got engaged after 4 months, and then he broke it off because we were like, no, you're not getting married. But he was like, and after all of it, he was like, yeah, I was getting abused. And we're like, why didn't you break up with her in the first place? And he was like, well, her tits were big and the sex was great.
So see, Chip Kelly. There you go. Also, I mean, before we swiftly move on to points, I just want to say, Thomas, I hope you realise what you've done. Because the second the words that Chris would be 100% right left your mouth, he had the biggest grin on his face that I have ever seen. All right?
I'm not going to stop ranting about it.
If that ever comes to fruition, it's all over.
I will tell you, every time my wife tells me, oh, you were right, I milk it for as long as I can.
I don't blame you. I mean, it's, you've got to make the most of it.
I am not right often with her. And when
to say, has it ever happened, Chris?
No, it's not often. Like, if it was often, I wouldn't grin all the time. Like, it's like a common thing.
Oh,
it's not a
hang
common
on.
thing.
Chris, Geordie has picked you apart. He said Chris wasn't right on Ramsey, though.
Geordie?
Wow, that's a nerve.
That's a deep cut.
Hey, Jordy, I was gonna let you off on this.
Right, someone hold him back, get him out.
Let me scroll up, Jordy.
Oh my
Chris
God.
Just left the chat.
You were the
He's on his way.
Right, okay, let's move on. Let's get some reader comments on before we end up with...
Derek,
Just real quick.
and said Jerry tied most total tackles today. He had 2 tackles.
Yeah, but it was the most for anyone called Nate Gary. That's fine.
2 tackles.
Doug Peterson put something out about DeSean Jackson.
What did he say?
So he said the plan was to play him. We'll have some more testing done in the morning, probably have a better update on him. The plan was to play him for the entire game. It's precautionary for right now. We'll get some more testing on it.
Interesting. Okay, so, right, let's read what people are saying then. So, Jory didn't like the analogy. I know Devin Carter's in a bit of a debate at the minute as to what kind of window the Eagles are in. He says, left tackle and centre backup projects are all we really need. They don't just seem to mess consistently. I mean, I think that's interesting, but one player I'm quietly really impressed with, like back to the offensive line, has been Isaac Seumalo. I mean, like, we've heard barely anything about him this year. Was given a contract extension when Big V wasn't. They were the same draft class. Seumalo comes out. He's had a very good season, I think. He's used frequently on kind of like he's being pulled and pushed and everywhere in terms of like run plays. I know, Thomas, you look at the tape more than most people. I mean, how's Seumalo been for you this year?
Up and down. Mostly he's been doing good. In the run game, he's reliable. He's going to move people, and the combination with Jason Kelce and Isaac Seumalo, especially on zone plays, is working well for the Eagles because they do a really good job of understanding who is going to go up to the linebacker, who's going to go to the second level while the other one keeps the defensive tackle in check. So he's doing really well in the run game. Pass game could have been better with the switch from Jason Peters to Andre Dillard. There has been some miscommunications in terms of who's picking up stunts. Mostly it's been on Dillard, but some of it has been on Isaac Seumalo as well. So it's a lot to ask for Isaac to overcompensate for some of the struggles that Dillard is doing. But overall, Isaac is doing a really good job, especially after week 3. In the first couple of weeks, he had some really up and down things, especially in the Falcons game. That was horrible. Oh, doggo.
Okay. Doggo. I mean, Chris, okay, we need a quick dog profile. We need a scout report.
Macy's been protecting my house because I'm home alone with her. My wife is out with one of her friends today, so she was just barking outside. So if some of you see me yelling in the YouTube channel right now without any sound, it's because I put my Skype on mute so I can yell at this saying,
"You guys look exactly alike."
Oh.
Our skin color is very. It's my daughter. Amazing.
Okay, let me pitch a question then. So, Eagles going to the bye week at 5-4. Everything's suddenly looking a little bit sunnier than it was 2-3 weeks ago. What if, alright, just to play devil's advocate here, the Eagles had given up that 19-point lead, and this was like a Tennessee take 2, and they lose to the Bears and they go into this bye week. How different are the expectations for the rest of the season?
You're looking at a high draft pick for the rest of the season rather than a playoff push.
But is it that drastic though?
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. It's kind of like making you think back, like, okay, well, have we been too hard? Like, is this suddenly all okay, or would that loss have just
this
set it all on fire?
Game that would have pushed the Eagles team into looking at a top 10 pick, maybe top 15, rather than pushing the playoffs. Because if they lost, you're looking at a 4-5 team about to face the Patriots and the Seahawks.
But then you'd argue that that's the perfect letdown spot for the Pats, though, right? You've just been rolling past everyone.
Yeah, and that's what we talked about on the podcast. Like, we just ended up facing a really mobile quarterback in Josh Allen, and he dominated him, to a semi-mobile quarterback in Mitch Trubisky and dominated him, to a statue in Brady coming up, and his offensive line is not great in any means, so you can get pressure on him. But then you go to Russell Wilson, who can and has picked apart the Eagles defense in his 3 wins again, and 3 wins in 3 games against the Eagles. So it's like this game, like being 5-4, going 1-1 in the next 2 games against the Seahawks and Patriots isn't the end of the world. If you go 1-1, if you were 4-5, you're still a 5-6 team. But if you go 1-1, in the next 2 games, you're still a 6-5 team going against Miami and then 4 straight divisional games against a terrible Giants team, against a terrible Redskins team, and then you get revenge against the Cowboys.
Yeah.
So I think this was the game that you really looked at like this could be the turning point in the season. And especially if you were up 19-0 against the Bears and you let that lead up, all faith would have been lost. Like especially when Mr. Brisket had one, I know it was like net passing yards, but 1 passing yard.
Yeah.
In the first half, if you let that go, and if you let that up and you lose that game, all hope would have been lost for the rest of the season.
That's fair. I mean, I think Isaac Jr. said it best when he just said, "Given up, all will be lost. It's all over. Done and dusted. Season gone." I want to touch on one player that I think has gone massively underrated. I think that's kind of par for the course by this point, and has been for his whole career. But I can't name a game this season where Brandon Graham hasn't shown up. Like, looking back at this whole year.
Career year. Absolutely, he's gone for a career year. I can't wait.
Last week.
He's been great the last month.
No. Liam said 1 game this season. I don't think last week he was missing in action. Or was it 2 weeks ago?
Well, I thought he's been alright. But then last week I know it was the Fletcher Cox show and kind of like a few assists and stuff.
I got you guys.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
It's one of the past few weeks here. There was 1 game where I said, oh, that's not like Brandon Graham, and then he got back on. It must have been 2 weeks ago because last week he got back on track.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure he got
against the Cowboys, no sacks, 1 tackle.
Oh, okay, could have been that one. All right. Other than that one, then, right? Still having majority vote. But yeah, I think like, but considering, I think like if you take BG out of it for now, and you've just got Derek Barnett, and then it's Vinny Curry, who I think we can all agree has been disappointing at this stage, which is it's annoying, it's upsetting. Josh Sweat is beginning to find his feet, which is great, but it would be nowhere near consistent enough if there was no Brandon Graham. And although you've got 7 defensive ends, I think that's probably why, you know, Avery was brought in. But I mean, yeah, I think Brandon Graham for me has been, if you're looking at candidates for like most consistent player, like he's definitely up there. Like on defense, obviously you've got Carson Wentz on offense, but it's just interesting. I think that Sharif Miller's been one guy that I know had an interview this week with Mike Kay when he was saying they're like, oh, people calling me a bust and whatever, like blah blah blah. This hasn't gone on the radar because Jannard Avery has walked right in day 1 as a 6th round draft pick last year and got snaps and a sack in his debut. Sharif Miller, nowhere to be seen, can't get on the field, can't find any kind of like leverage to get some snaps here. Is it too soon?
Wasn't that expectation of him?
He's a 4th round pick. Like ever since he was drafted, but he's a project. He's a developmental player.
Yeah, but even Josh Sweat got snaps last year, and he was a 4th round pick.
Josh Sweat in his rookie season didn't go over 10 snaps in a game.
No, I think off the top of my head it was 22 against the Saints, but it was a playoff loss and it was blown out. But I may be wrong. I'm not sure of the exact number. 22 sticks out for some reason. Whether that was it the whole year or not, I don't know. And most of them were in that Saints game. But I don't know. Like, is it just too soon? Or like, to me, it's like the Avery trade wouldn't have happened if they had faith in Miller.
It's way too soon. The only reason Sharif Miller's putting under the bus is because people are going way overheated about how Roseman, after not acquiring anyone at the trade deadline, and then people just want to find faults all over the place. Like, oh, they're not playing him, that guy's not playing. And then they say Sharif Miller is a bust as well. Like, come on. It's a 4th round defensive end who we all knew when he came out of college that he had flaws and that he had a lot of potential, but it was not coming together on the field, and that he was probably not going to play at all this entire season. That's why DeSean Hall was a guy that they started to put on there and activate. If they had any faith that Sharif Miller would be drafted to contribute, they wouldn't have DeSean Hall in the roster. It's just an overreaction. It has no logic.
Okay, fair. I just think I view it from like a depth point, and even like DeSean Hall would be a better example given where he came from and the fact that even though his NFL experience was limited, like, you know what I mean? I know he had like a stint in Carolina and stuff. It was just interesting to me that was the position they went after. And if he gets that niche role as the outside linebacker, that stand-up DE, then brilliant. I don't know. I just looked at it and I was like, oh, okay. It's that immediate kind of push. It's the same way where, you know, if you went out and picked up a receiver at a trade deadline now, what does that mean for Arcega-Whiteside? Given that Alshon's already contracted, DeSean's already contracted, Aguilar's probably going to go. Like, it's that same thing. It's like it's a push back a bit.
Probably.
Hmm?
He needs to go.
Who does?
Aguilar. You said Aguilar's probably going to go. He should be going. He should be. He's done.
Yeah, I mean, at this stage, I was honestly thinking he would go at the deadline as bait. If you're going to bring in someone with like a bigger cap hit, like a defense, like well, a Geno Atkins, who I think was like 11.3 million. Although it's over 3 years.
I was saying, like, I hope that he goes to like a change of scenery type trade for like Solomon Thomas, something like that. I was hoping to go, but we got Jannard Avery. I'm good with that. But and we said in the pod today, you're lying if you saw Jannard Avery's name come across your phone. We're like, yeah, we're excited.
True, but I mean, no, true. Like, I think the initial reaction from most fans was like, who? But the second I turned on the film. And I think I went through like 6 or 7 games from his rookie season. So I literally watched every game he had a sack, and then the ones with like the highest tackles. That's normally the route I follow. Like, you couldn't help but being right. He's got everything you could want there. Like, in terms of like pass rush fundamentals, has all the moves and stuff you could want. Just hasn't been able to tie it all together just yet, I think. And it's like, I think the scheme didn't help him too much. But already, I know it's only very, very, very early days, but there's at least a sign of, hey, we're going to try and utilise him. And that's significant, which I like, so I'm happy and excited about it. Brian, is there anything else on your mind after the loss? A win, Jesus, God,
Whoa.
Sorry, whoa,
Yeah.
wow, my bad.
Right away, we lost.
Just getting your attention. That's.
I'm excited about. I'm going to raise some eyebrows later for Thomas and Chris.
Uh-oh.
Miles Sanders
God.
continues to cease to do Sanders-like things.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I'm very curious about is, when the hell is JJ coming out of the doghouse?
Yeah.
Matt Collins is not doing anything for this team.
This is something that Brian and I and Michael Kist last week touched on our podcast.
No, it was like 2 weeks ago.
That was last week.
It was-
After the Bills?
Last week we had Gino.
Shut up. So this is what we had 2 weeks ago on the podcast. And I gotta change some tweets. Whoops. So 2 weeks ago with Michael Kiss, we said, why draft JJ after extending Alshon when all you're gonna do is come out and say JJ can't have playing time. It's hard to get JJ playing time with Alshon healthy.
Isn't it maddening though that you look at the Golden Tate trade last year, and everyone was so quick down Mike Groh's throat to say, "Oh, what do you mean you don't know how to implement him?" And yet this year it's, "Dog, where's JJ? Dog, where's JJ?" And no one. It's so bizarre. But to me, the only way I can see it working is genuinely if they follow that pattern of moving him into big slot receiver. If they're saying cross training for 3 roles.
I want that so bad.
Oh, me too. Like I've literally had the list up a couple of weeks ago for that very reason of like receivers they worked out pre-draft, and most of them were like 6'3" and above. Like Jalen Hurd, like AJ Brown, like there were so many that were just like Paris Campbell was another one, that were just like bigger receivers. But quick, right, we're gonna say a quick goodbye to Thomas. So Thomas is going. He's got a new job tomorrow. Do you want to say any little words about the job? Because I know it's been quite a hectic couple of weeks for you, isn't it? Oh, your microphone's gone off. You've muted your mic.
right, there you go. So it's another part of Denmark. So the whole healthcare system and the way the hospitals work is entirely different from what I've been used to in my entire career. So not only am I starting a new field, like I've been going from lung medicine to now surgery. That's a whole shift. It's also a whole new system. So it's going to be a rough couple of weeks learning this whole thing, and it starts tomorrow. So I'm going to have to take off now.
Man, we'll see you soon. So best of luck. Let us know how it goes, man. Well, we'll be in the Slack chat, but just have a great day.
See you guys.
Bye, man. All right, so and then now we're 3, and now I suddenly feel like it's become a triple threat, and I'm in a handicap because you two are a tag team, and I don't like it anymore. But
We're not a tag team.
but let's read some comments. We've kind of deviated away a little bit. Let's see what you guys are saying. Duck Nguyen is very complimentary of the show. Says, flipping the birds, if you don't listen, give it a try. It's just like listening to your 2 buds talking about the birds.
Here we go.
Oh yeah!
Chris is so Lambrini Liam right now. It's unbelievable.
Hi, Dustin.
So, what else have we got? Geordie says play him in the slot. Signed wood arrow wide schedule words letter number. I don't know what that means, but he said Lillard suck. Sixers beat the Blazers. I thought he meant Dillard. Then I realised it was the Sixers. So hey, we've got the whole crew in. True Prodigy says it's driving me crazy that JJ isn't playing. No one is worse than Hollins and Nelson. And yeah, I don't. If it was me as GM, you know, it would be Jordan Matthews playing slot. We would. My perfect draft, my trade deadline plan was faultless. Right? It was get rid of Nelson Aguilar, but you can pick the player. I don't mind. Just ship him off as like a sweetener. Right? Then you take 9.3 million, invest 1 million back in Matthews and a veteran's minimum, instant production. Your offense is lacking chemistry. You've got drops. Jordan Matthews, the only thing he's dropping is we'll go down that road. But it's I think, do you know what I mean? It's one of those things where he's so consistent. I said before, did you guys know? Right, this is a test if you do watch the things I put out. Right, I'll quiz you. Okay. Jordan Matthews has one specific thing that Carson Wentz gave to him in his rookie year. What was it?
Oh.
So Carson Wentz's dog, Henley, had a puppy, and he gave the puppy to Jordan Matthews.
I do remember that. Yeah,
there you go. Right. See, so you get him on. That fixes that problem.
Too many of these.
Right. That fixes that problem. So you've got Matthews in the slot, and then you're fine. You can do whatever you want then. You've got an extra $9 million, put that wherever. Sort yourself out. Got a new player that you've traded for. That probably like a defensive tackle. Jobs are good in. And then we'll work on Arcega-Whiteside later. But then Hollins isn't getting snaps. So that's fine. But
he snaps though.
Hollins is getting... Oh, no.
Not with Matthews. He's just kind of pushing him aside at that point. It's just like, oh, no. But I don't get the Matt Collins thing.
Can I interrupt for a quote from Khalil Mack?
Go on then. Go on.
This is from Pro Football Talk.
Okay.
So, the Bears lost to the Eagles in a penalty-filled game today, but the Bears thought the Eagles and the officials were to blame for some of their penalties. Specifically, the Bears accused Eagles center Jason Kelce of illegally moving the ball to get Bears players to jump offside.
Ooh.
Man, you see the bullshit Kelce was kind of doing with that ball, Khalil Mack said after the game via Adam Hodge of WGN. Just moving in a little bit, but even then, can't make excuses. That's not the type of group we have. Bears coach Matt Nagy hinted after the game that he didn't think his own players were to blame for their offside penalties, although he seemed to be careful not to sound like he was criticizing the officials making excuses. Nagy knows any excuse will ring out. Shut up.
Okay, right. So it's like
so undisciplined throughout the whole game. Like between the roughing the passer, offsides, encroachment, pass interference. Like the first pass interference against Alshon with against DeSean with Kyle Fuller, and Kyle Fuller was standing there like he was doing the Jalen Mills thing, like nope, you can't do it. And then
the flag flying behind him.
It was like, oh wait, there's a flag behind. Like, come on. You guys are so undisciplined.
Do you not think... I almost tweeted something out and I very swiftly deleted it because I realised that people would pick it up, no, Liam, because this is it. And I was like, it wasn't meant to be taken like directly, literally, but did it not feel a little bit like this Bears team was an extreme version of the Eagles team from a few weeks ago? Just completely undisciplined, couldn't do anything on offense. Defense had to fire in one area and sucked somewhere else, and they would just hurt themselves to get more penalties. And I know people go, yeah, but the secondary was good, and yeah, but this, and it's like, yeah, but it's not a literal comparison. But, because obviously Wentz is a million times better than Trubisky, but couldn't do anything on offense, couldn't get a rhythm, couldn't score points. Defense couldn't do anything. Suck up a big lead early, and then you lead to a second half comeback where you have to salvage from the grave, and your quarterback has to dig you out of a hole. And it felt so eerily familiar in a lot of ways, and I was like, I don't like that. Like, it's nice to see the Eagles have kind of moved on from it a bit, but I was like, I do not like that at all.
Can I do a selfish break right now?
I thought you were going to see a selfie, so yeah go on then.
I know I'm not into selfies, but I would do a selfish break right now because Brian and I, for those of you that don't know, that those of you don't follow Flipping the Birds pod for whatever reason, Brian and I do our weekly picks for our games, and Brian picked the Jets to win against Miami. I picked Miami to win, and who won that one, Brian? Who did?
So that means I have a 2-game lead on you now. That's pretty much what you're saying.
Okay, but then I picked Tennessee and you picked Carolina. So there you go. All right. So there you go. I picked Minnesota and you picked Kansas City.
Who won that game?
Who won? I don't know who won that game. Let's see. Who won that game? Wow. Chiefs won. God damn it.
Big Matt Moore replaced Patrick Mahomes, my column.
Wow. I guess they don't need subtitles. Wow.
Hang on, so really quickly, like to just butt back in, to just leave it to you guys for a second. Well, we'll do it in quarters because we could be here a little while. So True Prodigy says Markin Michelle is still a free agent. Problems at receiver, put 2 and 2 together. Plus, there you go.
Michelle, let's go.
Right. Plus, Greg Ward Jr., J-Matt, and JJ are collecting dust. Well, J-Matt's not on the team. I wish he was. But Mark and Michelle or Greg Ward, like either of them over Hollins at this point. I don't get what Hollins brings to the table anymore. Like there was a point where you're like, special teams, that's the one. It's special teams. He's on there. He must be doing something. And you kind of like live by that as like, yeah, well, we'll put it all on there and forget everything else. And now it's got to the point where he's being depended on offensively and is doing nothing. Like I don't want to sound too extreme, but like surely this can't just be a generic fan perspective of get rid of him. Like that can't be too extreme at this point.
No, it has to be very obvious. I feel like Matt Hollins is kind of like that 4th generational cousin that just shows up to the parties uninvited, and that nobody really wants him there, but he's still there somehow, some way. I truly think with the bye week now coming up, the Eagles need to look into either Jordan Matthews or, dare I say, possibly Antonio Brown.
No. Oh, look what you've done.
Look at this way. Look at this way. Nothing has come up from the allegations, from the whole lawsuit. Nothing has come up from that.
It's not so much the allegations, though. It's not the allegations that ever concern me. It's more, I think there's genuinely underlying mental. I'm not going to speculate into, he's got CTE, he's got this, he's got that. But there are strings of, like, that's not a person you want in your locker room to build around. Because he needs
that person needs somebody like Doug Peterson.
He needs, he just needs, like, for me, do you know what the most heartbreaking thing was that I've seen of Antonio Brown? And it wasn't even to do with the allegations or being cut from Oakland or the stupid video he put out or the Patriots cut. None of that. It was when he was choosing where to sign and he put a video out and it was a phone conversation. And it was the same one where it was off. Like, it was Flair, and he was talking about the Eagles or like whatever when Rosenhaus mentioned him. It was the way Rosenhaus spoke to him. Like, he was literally in the presence of, like, the hottest girl imaginable, trying not to lose. And he was, like, literally being spoken to like a god, right? And he sat, and you just think, like, he's hearing this stuff day in, day out, big bag come in, like, you're the best guy ever, man. We're going to kill it together. Because Rosenhaus knows if he gets 3 or 4% of that contract, he never has to work again, essentially, right? That's his job. It just broke, you're like, you can see it. Like, the ego goes from, like, almost nihilistic in a way to just completely, like, overblown into this god complex. It's so similar to Kanye West in a lot of ways. And I love Kanye.
Wide receiver diva syndrome. Like,
but there's wide receiver. Yeah, but Odell Beckham's a diva. And, like, you'd even take that. I mean, like, there's a difference between being a diva and making the whole world revolve around you and trying to create lawsuits for helmets and stuff. Like, it's bearing in mind, the Eagles just had Orlando Scandrick, of all people, almost break a locker room. Not Antonio Brown. Like, no, they're not that desperate. Like, there are help. If they want help elsewhere that badly, they'd find it from a Jordan Matthews or a Mark and Michelle or a Greg Ward Jr. Like, someone they know. Like, there's something with the Antonio Brown thing. I'm just like, someone, his wife, whoever, like, get him out of football. Get him, like, he's got all the money, well, not all the money in the world now, but, like, certain amount of money. Get private help, get some therapy. Like, any problems that are there, just, like, get your head set and then come back in a couple years. Because, like, right now, I think all you're going to do is dig yourself a deeper hole. And the more times, like, going out or Oakland once is one thing. Going to New England, where the culture is so black and white, and if you don't fit, you're gone. Like, look at Michael Bennett, you know? Like, he wasn't there very long. It's to me now at that point where it's like, this is your third rodeo. You forced you out of Pittsburgh. You forced you out of Oakland. You got ruined by the Patriots. And the more doors you knock on, you're just going to get that reputation of like, why? Like, we don't want you here anymore. And it's like being like, the most successful guy in town, just drinking away at success. It becomes that, and then you just become like, oh, he's here again, really, like that guy. And I can't see it. Like, I'd just rather he go away and get help because there's clearly something going on. Like, on the field stuff is like the least of. Same with Josh Gordon, right? Like, if teams wanted Antonio Brown, surely Josh Gordon was like the prize hit. And Chris is already fuming. Like, you can see, like, look at his face.
Apparently so. Like, the Seahawks did like crazy work on AB before claiming Josh Gordon.
So that's what I mean. So surely, like, if you need AB. Josh Gordon is like a godsend.
The Seahawks don't give a shit what you have done. They really
not loud on this one.
They really
he
don't.
Is so drunk.
They are so consumed with winning right now, which is fine in a sense. Like you have such a window because they've already depleted their defense. Like Richard Sherman is gone. Cam Chancellor unfortunately had his injury. The whole legion of boom is gone. Byron Maxwell, he got his money from some.
I wonder where you're going with that. Then. You went Legion of Boom, Byron Maxwell. I was like, just not
from some team. Some team got gypped into thinking that he was a good corner instead of a scheme thing. But we're not going to go into that team.
No, not at all.
And then shipped him off to Miami. But Seattle looks at Russell Wilson and sees what he's doing right now. And it's remarkable what he's doing right now. So they went out and got him another weapon. And to the expense of their defense again, because I think they waived someone from the defense to prevent. But they're like, you know what? This is such a passing league. It's such an offense-driven league that really this league is going from defense wins championships to whoever scores more points obviously will win every game. But it's going to be a shootout.
Chris 2019.
No matter what, it's going to be a shootout no matter what.
But do you not think, if you think of all the teams that could have got him, like guys that were like starving for wide receivers, right? You're looking at a Cincinnati right now who Boyd's injured, AJ Green's AWOL at trade deadline. There are other teams that are far more needed than Seattle, far more needed than Philly that, not worth it. So if that's one way, and I don't want Josh Gordon, then they're certainly not going to want AB.
But the thing that I saw was, why not bring him in? And if it doesn't work, you still have him for the rest of the year. And let someone else sign him, and then you get. If Howie Roseman's so consumed by this comp pick formula, why not bring him in for that very reason? Because if you lose him next year to free agency, then 2021. You're getting a third round or fourth round comp pick. Mm-hmm. This is Howie's MO right now. This is what
I would just honestly put it down to that. Put it this way: if the last 8 weeks happened without a skid in the road, if they were 4-4 and there was no Scandrick, there was no anonymous source, there was no guaranteed win in Dallas, there was no cut in Zach Brown, then maybe they'd have gone out and got him. But for a team that has just got back on track, you don't want to sink back into that hole of they've already had their fair share of problems at wide receiver anyway. You don't want to add more fuel to a burning fire. So, I can see what I would have been more on the cautious side. I think you would have been more on the aggressive side. And, that's a beauty of debate. That's why we're all on this show. Let's get through a couple more comments, though, because we will be here talking Josh Gordon and Antonio Brown, all night long otherwise.
Before we get to that.
All right.
Let me say, what I said about the Seahawks defense, they're losing to Tampa Bay right now.
Yeah, but it's Russell Wilson. It'll be fine.
21-13, and I don't think even Godwin has had a good game right now, which really pains me because he's on my fantasy team.
I wonder where that was going. I was like, that's definitely an argument there.
I think Green Bay is losing 0-9.
Hang on, no, I'm winning, aren't I?
Yeah, no.
What do you mean? Yeah, no. What am I playing you?
Right now, Influence Brian is up 113.86 to 81.56, and Influence is projected 135.42 to Lyle Taylor FC.
He's on the back of the shirt. He's on the back of the
129.9.
shirt. That's all that matters. Yeah, I think I'm going to abandon fantasy after this year. I'm never playing fantasy football again. But really quickly then, so Brandon says, I would love to debate with these guys. Dude, I promise you, it's in our plans to try and get something set up where we can have call-ins. We just don't know how to do it without giving away Skype information at the minute. As soon as we figure out like a way around it, like we would love to have call-ins post-game. It'd be amazing to get as many of you guys on the show as possible.
We're not a radio show right now, so
no, we're trying to be a hybrid. We want to be everything. We want to be radio, video, chat. Like we want it all. So we'll get it. Don't you worry. Our Duck Win just says you need to get a call set up. We're trying. All right. It's been a very busy. Though this has been the worst week for me, right? Okay. This is LJ sympathy hour for like 3 minutes now because my clocks went back last Saturday, right? Which means technically everyone else is like, oh yeah, an hour's sleep. I lose an hour because your clocks didn't go back. So now I went from being 5 hours behind to 4 hours behind. And that messed me up totally. And then we get to yesterday and I'm back to 5 hours behind. So I lose another hour's sleep and I still don't know where I am. So basically, just give me time. Because I keep waking up at like 11 in the morning American time, not knowing where I am. And I've got loads of stuff to do. But I promise you, I'll get there now that my schedule will be back to a normal.
Daylight savings time is such a sham.
I know. It's not saving any daylight. It's awful. It's getting dark. I don't like it.
I'm all for adopting Arizona's policy. Arizona does not do daylight savings time. Yeah,
Can they not?
Arizona does not do it.
Oh, dude, that's sick. I'm moving out there now.
Arizona Sports Network from 2020. We go.
Pretty much.
From November till whenever next daylight savings is, June. May. They are in a certain time zone, and then from June till November, they are in the other time zone.
That makes sense. Huge Squid 5769 says Discord, so we could have a PSN Discord server. And I was thinking about this because my younger brother's like a much bigger YouTuber than we are. Like he's got his own, it's mad. So he's got a Discord server set up. So maybe I'll ask him and see what he can do, and I'll just poach his ideas because that sounds good. Alshon is about the hands, not necessarily the speed. It's nice to hear blokes from England talking about the Eagles. It's nice to see someone with the surname Berlin. See, we're going full European. Unless you're American, then you're not European. But I appreciate the support, man, genuinely. Thank you for tuning in. It's always a blessing chatting shop with you guys after a win or a loss. Let's see what else you guys have said. We'll give it 10 more minutes because I didn't realize we've already been here like an hour. Time flies when it's not just me shouting for an hour and I can have a drink and I've got time to stay hydrated. It's amazing. But okay, so Brian, is there anything else on your mind after today's W? See, I didn't say loss this time.
The only thing on my mind truly is, only two things on my mind is, I know we have a healthy Darren Sproles back, and I did something me and Chris pounded the table about on the podcast.
Oh no!
I really hope Sproles isn't forced into the game plan.
Like he was in week one, or
the what? Like
he was in week one.
Yeah, I feel like they have a really good thing going on with Sanders and Howard. Just stick with that. And my only concern right now is D-Jackson. That's really because I feel like if we don't really get him back, then the Eagles need us to focus on bringing somebody with speed off the streets, pretty much. Whether it's, you're bringing Jordan Matthews back just because of familiarity, or you're looking at possibly Mike Wallace, who nobody's heard from since his injury. Something of that sort.
That's fair. So what we'll do then, we'll go for like a quick Q&A. So anything you guys want to ask us, just drop it in the chat. Basically what we're doing tonight anyway, but it's more like a lot direct. So any questions you want to fire, get them in now. So Victor Chekhov says, how do I get to study game film? In terms of the actual game film, that's just on NFL Game Pass. Anyone can access it. In terms of studying it, I don't know. Like it depends how far you want to take it. It's sort of like an ocean, really. You can either go for a little paddle and you can just watch it and see what you pick up, which is what I did when I first started. Or you start reading books and coaching clinics and trying to understand different elements of it. And yeah, I mean, like the thing is, like you end up like X's and O's Twitter, and I end up looking silly because I'm like, oh my god, like these guys know so much more than I ever could. It's mad. Like it really is as far as you want to take it, which is what I think I kind of love about it more than anything. Mike D-Jax is faster. This is Mike Wallace is fast. D-Jax, okay, fair. Leg breaks are a hard comeback for wide receiver. It's really hard to reset. We're ready for New England. How are you feeling about the Patriots at home, Chris? I literally am.
Oh, me? I already said on the podcast today it's gonna come out. It's gonna come out either tonight or tomorrow morning, depending on when Brian, the editor, wants to put it out. He usually likes to put them out when I'm sleeping.
It's 7:00.
I will wake up at 5 a.m. to a text saying, "Here are the links," and it would sound like 11 p.m. And I look on Twitter, it was already sent out. I go to sleep. Like, my wife's 8.5 months pregnant. I go to bed at like 8:30 at night now. That's my life now. I get it. You know. Before I get into the game, I wanted to Brian Berlin. He said, where is it? Daylight savings time is fine. Grow up, lads. No, daylight savings time.
Oh, God, no.
Daylight savings time sucks.
Brian, I'm sorry. Brian Berlin, I'm sorry.
It makes it get darker earlier or later. That's
apologize to me. I would accept it.
Anyways, like you'll hear me on the podcast when it comes out. Coming into the season, I unleashed an ultimate season game-by-game preview.
You did, and it was like 17,000 words long.
Yeah, it's like a book long.
How great or terrible my record prediction has been, but I do know for a fact I did predict an Eagles win against the Patriots, and I will stick by that. You know, it's the Patriots have really only faced two offenses worth mentioning. They shut down Odell and Jarvis Landry last week, and at the beginning of the season they faced a healthy. You want to assume he was healthy. Ben Roethlisberger at the beginning of the season, and he beat them 33-3. But that's it. That's all they have faced. And tonight you'll see what the Patriots can do against Lamar Jackson. Hopefully not that much because Lamar Jackson's on my fantasy team. But, you know, you'll see. And obviously Wentz is not to Lamar Jackson's rushing ability or, like, what Lamar Jackson can do with his legs, Wentz can't do. But Wentz is special with his legs. Like, he can, you've seen it so far this year, what he can do with his legs, what he can do avoiding the sacks, what he can do ducking under players, and you're like, holy shit, how did he do that? You know, you see that from Wentz, and that's not Lamar Jackson, but it's a tick or two down from Lamar Jackson. So if the Patriots don't have success against Lamar Jackson right now tonight, with him rolling out and passing on the run or running, then look for Doug Peterson to include that in his game plan. But at the same time, the Pats have a bye next week too. So the Pats are great after the bye, but so are the Eagles. So it's going to be very interesting.
The only way I look at it is that if Sam Bradford can beat the Patriots and Nick Foles can beat the Patriots,
I was dying to throw Bradford.
Then I mean, if Carson Wentz becomes the only Eagles quarterback since 2015 could you imagine I'm just saying he's got to do it for the brand. If he doesn't, then the Sam Bradford jersey will be worn, and you guys do not want to see that ever again. I assure you. Let's see what we said. So Brian says New England, most of their wins come from team having 9. Daz says we play good against good teams. It's bad teams who play bad. That makes kind of sense. Let's see what else you guys are saying. That's
the thing. Like the Eagles for like the most of our lives, their MO is play up to the competition, play down to the competition. They have really, like, it's rare that they just beat down teams that they're supposed to beat down. Like, they beat down the Jets. They were supposed to beat down the Jets.
Yeah, but if they didn't beat down the Jets, I would be horrified.
Oh,
there's no way that
they would have all jumped off the cliff. But like the Bears.
Good thing Alshon tweaked his ankle.
Yeah, but he has to. Did he tweak his hands? Because that's another thing.
Oh Lord, it's getting sassy.
But like they should have beat down the Bears, and they didn't. Like, they dominated 2 straight drives, and they came out with 6 points. They should have dominated them. Last year, they should have dominated the Titans. They should have dominated the Panthers, and they didn't. Like, they played down to their competition the last few years, and it sucks. But that's just it wouldn't be an Eagles game without heart palpitations, without needing an AED, without needing 911 right there, ready to press send. It's just the Eagles games. It's what it is. Like,
fair, absolutely. So on that note, we're gonna call it a night because it's been 73 minutes of absolute sass and chaos from all of us. So. Don't forget, though, you're going to have Flipping the Birds podcast. That's going to drop sometime tonight. That'll be from Brian and Chris. This Week in Philadelphia Sports, that's from me. That drops tomorrow evening. So you can expect that from myself. If you want to follow the guys on Twitter, Brian, what's your Twitter?
At BCameronPSN.
And Chris?
I don't have my jersey on right now, so I can't turn around and do what I usually do. But it is Infante54. It's infant with an E at the end, 54.
There you go. And if you want to follow me, it's at Liam Jenkins PSN. Guys, as always, you've been absolutely incredible. If you want to hit that subscribe button, it will mean the world to us. We try and bring you at least 5 videos a week. Sometimes it's 6. Geordie says, will we do a bi-week stream? Absolutely. I'm going to try and get something special planned for that one. And yeah, from all of us here, guys, thank you for sharing your evening with us. It always does, honestly, blow our mind. Literally, there were like about 70 of you at one point. All sat here talking about the Eagles. It's absolutely mind-blowing. Best fan base on the planet.
Before we leave, shout out to Isaac. Isaac is hardcore promoting Flipping the Birds.
I love all that.
Isaac, you're my boy. You're our boy. Can we send Isaac a Flipping the Birds shirt, please?
He's already got a t-shirt.
It's all I guess. Around.
We'll talk about it. But guys, enjoy the rest of your evening. I hope you enjoy Sunday Night Football. Thank you for sharing your evening with us. You are truly the best fan base on the planet. We'll see you again soon.
Go Birds!
Yes, sir.
That's why